What's your earliest memory from when you moved here when you were 8 of Horfield or the Common?
Well, going to school, I think, that was the first memory. And I went with another child who the teacher told to take me to school. So I became a friend of hers as a school child. That's I think that's my earliest memory.
Which school did you go to?
Ashley Down.
Ashley Down School.
Yeah.
What kind of games did you play when you were growing up, and how many of them were focused around the Common?
Do you mean the school, or do you mean like playtime?
Either, at school or when you were out of school on weekends?
When we were at school, we used to come up on the Common sometimes and do games and that, rounders and things like that. And in those days, we could go out and play in the road. There was a little group of us doing that. And we used to do skipping. And if someone had a bicycle, we used to take it in turns on the bicycle. And that wall across there by Regis opposite, we used to play ball and all that. And we used to play marbles in the gutter. That's what we used to do, and hopscotch. Bring it all back now. And, you know, all those sort of things, you know. So, yeah, and of course the school would be rounders and that. We went swimming and things like that.
What was Horfield like when you were young, generally?
Horfield much better than it is now.
What do you mean by that?
Well, the shops and that were much better. You know, we had decent shops. You know, it's all cafes now. And, well, it's different altogether. You know, people seem to be more friendly. Well, you know what I mean. We used to talk to one another more than they do now. I think what it is, the young people go out to work now. And you don't sort of see them really. But then everyone knew one another, you know. I think you find that anywhere really.
So you think the community has changed?
It's definitely changed, yeah.
Can you remember any big events or celebrations that have happened in Horfield or on the Common?
Because we all had a mug from school when the new king was crowned. So they had parties then in the road when that was in the 1930s. Would have been about 38, I should think. It's for the war when he became king. And yeah, they had parties then everywhere for the coronation, you know. So, and we all had a mug from school.
Did you have a street party? Do you remember your street party?
Yeah, we did have it, but I can't remember much about it. But we did have one, you know.
Do you have any memories or stories from the Second World War about the local area?
The Second World War? Well, yes, I think I told you we were walking down there. Is that what you want to know?
Yes, please.
We were walking down the road with my parents because we were going to the school shelter because it was underneath the school shelter. Because when we had that big raid, of course, we all had to be underneath there and the teacher was making us sing. And as I said, they were up above us, the Germans. You could tell them by the sound of their engine. They had a different engine to ours. And a lady was in the port, because it was all dark, black, as you can imagine. And she had us in there, in her port, my parents and me, and until they'd gone over. And then we went on down to the school shelter, you know. And that's when that bomb, must have been the night when the bomb hit up. I mean, it wasn't then. Sometimes when they were going back home again, they used to drop them then and get rid of them, I suppose. And it may have been that night when they did that bomb up in the field. But it wasn't then when we were walking down. It may have been another time.
What bomb in the field? Was there one on the common?
The one up here, what we call the field.
Oh,
Yeah, the rectory field.
Yeah.
It used to be the rectory field. That's where it was dropped. And it was sort of near the road, near this end. If it was a few more yards, it would have gone on the houses.
just quite close.
Yeah. And as a child, well, everybody did. And as children, of course, we went out to see this great big crater. Remember that. And of course, the other one was like the being bombed out the works, you know, BAC. Mm-hmm. And coming out from school and seeing, because we wondered what happened, you see, being children, but then we found out, naturally, children wanted to know. And they were having everything they could to take them to them. I expect they went to Southmead and BRI. And they were, like, injured. And I remember seeing that. But funny enough, I wasn't frightened at all. I suppose because I was a child. Didn't worry me at all. Didn't worry me when I heard them up above. You know, I expected my mum, but then they can't show it because I was a child. So they had to sort of keep it to themselves. But no, I wasn't at all worried about the war. Perhaps it was just as well. But I wasn't old enough to realise, I suppose, you know.
How did the war affect the local community?
Well, we all sort of, like I said, like it was before, we all helped one another and did what we could, you know. As a child, I can remember that. And also, they used to have Anderson shelters in the garden, what they call Anderson shelters. And people used to go in there. And I remember the next door neighbour up St Leonard's and my dad, we used to have a courthouse out the back. So what they did, they made a hole in the courthouse. And we climbed through the courthouse, through their courthouse, to go down into their Anderson shelter. We didn't have one. And so that was another thing I remember. If we didn't go down to the school shelter, we went into theirs. And down into, you know, Anderson shelter. We went down into there. And, oh yeah, it was also different because everybody, well, of course, the war was on, we all helped one another, really. You know, anybody needed any help, we'd go there.
Do you remember anything about the barracks during the war, the Horfield barracks?
Yeah, 'cause my friend and I were up there playing on the common, up by the barracks. And it happened that those two coaches were there. And the soldiers were coming out, getting into the coaches. So I presume they were going off to war. That's what we took it to be. And because I remember waving, we were waving to them. But of course, being children, they sort of spoke to us and, you know, had to laugh like they do to children. And yeah, off they went. So we happened to be there at the time when they were coming out in the coaches. So I remember that. Just that we happened to be there at the time, you know. So, yeah, it was two coaches, I remember that.
Could you tell me a bit about the cinema?
Yes, it was, there, I forget when it was closed now. I think it may be in one of the books when it's closed. When we went, when my nephew, that was later on, they used to go mornings, but when I was a child, it used to be afternoons. So we all went Saturday afternoons, like children and that. And then when you got older, I forget what age you had to be now to go in. Otherwise, you had to go with an adult if it was a certain film. You know, now I've forgotten what that was, but it used to be, well, say it was A and B, you know, and A was, you had to go with an adult. I mean, it was nothing terrible, like, but you had to go with an adult. So what we used to do, my friend and I, we weren't children then, we were about 14, I think it was, because I still used to meet her after we moved. And we used to stand outside, and then if adults were going in, we used to ask them to take us in. So they used to take us in. You know, we paid. And then, because we went in with an adult, but then we sat where we wanted, where, you know, we didn't sit with them, but we sat inside. That's what we used to do. But, yeah, most Saturday afternoons we always went to the cinema, you know, as a child. And the films there, they were changed twice a week. And it was nice films, not like it is today. It was really, they had a story, and it was really nice, you know, the old film. That's like sometimes on television, the old ones come back, and they're in black and white, of course, but they had a story to them, you know, but today, can't get top and tail of them, some of them. But yeah, that was nice. And generally, when we were older, we used to go once a week anyway, in the evenings, you know. And yeah, it was good. It's a pity they closed it down, really.
So it's quite popular then?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody was upset when it shut, you know. But, yeah, it was nice, the premiere. But, yeah, that was happy memories.
What are your memories of the Common, specifically?
The Common? Well, naturally, we used to go out there to play. And used to take bottles of lemonade and have a little picnic, you know, the group of us children. And we used to take, in those days, we used to take babies out. Is that interesting? The neighbours, they were only about 9 months old. Now, they would dream of doing that now, you see, because we were only about, well, I think I used to do when my nephew Ken was born. Me and my friend Audrey up the road, which is not there now, but so we must have been taking them out when we were about 10. We used to take them out, up on the Common, and they were only about 9 months old, and they trusted us. So when I think back, I think, well, I don't think I would let anyone take my child out at 9 months. But it was also different then, you know. You could trust one another, you know. And we used to get sixpence for doing that. I had 2 of them I'd taken out, and then, of course, when my nephew came along, I used to take him out. But yeah, we used to do that, my friend and I. So that's different. But yeah, we used to, like you do, children, we used to play on the Common and that. Oh, and another thing, at the top of St Leonard's Road, the top house, of course it's all locked now, you see. You had the gate there and then the front window, but they had a long garden on the side. But here, you went in the front gate and there was the back gate, more or less a few steps there. And they used to let us go through there to go out. Like, we lived at the top, and they used to let us go through there onto the Common instead of going all the way around. That's another thing people used to do. They used to let you do that, you know. So, So that was a bit different. Now you see it's all padlocked now. So,
Did you spend a lot of time on the common then when you were young?
Yeah, we used to in the summer. Yeah. Yeah. You know, like you would as a child, you know, go on. Where we were lucky to have the common, really. Well, you know, and we have the field as well. We used to go up there as well. But yeah, it used to be enjoyable, like, you know. But that was nice memories.
Did you used to do anything apart from the picnics or the rounders games? There are other things you did up there?
What, the games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just when you went to them, what other things?
Yeah, rounders, and we used to make out, we tried to play cricket, all sorts we used to do. Apart from the school, you know, we had a group of us, you know, and we used to come out on the common and play these games. And of course they had a putting green on them up by the Arda. And we used to play that. But yeah, I mean, we used to like have, because there was a group of us, we used to have two teams like and play against the other, so that was all right. I mean, playing the cricket. But yeah, all sorts we used to play. Oh yes, did you know about the shop we used to have?
No.
Oh, that's something I remembered. On this corner house, there used to be a shop, like there used to be in those days, local shops on the corner. And yeah, we used to have a shop there, that was handy. And they sold everything. And yeah, good job, I remembered that. Yeah, so that was handy, having a little shop there. And most corners they did in certain roads, they always had a shop on the corner in a road. And that's another thing which is missing, really. Because, well, I don't suppose they would prosper, really, not what with the supermarkets. But it's handy if you forgot something and you could go to this shop to get things, you know. Because my mum used to do her main shopping on the Gloucester Road, and that was like not supermarkets, it was just a proper grocery shop. But if she had forgotten anything, you could always, like, well, it was generally me, came down to get it in the shop. So that's another thing which is missing, things like that. So, and also, did you know St Edmund's Church? Well, it was on the Gloucester Road. More or less opposite where Lloyd's Bank is now. Well, that was closed down. And because we used to go there at Sunday school, if that's interesting. And that was the daughter church of Horfield Church, Horfield Parish Church. But it was a shame. And we used to go to Sunday school there, to St Edmund's, you know, our little gang. And Sunday afternoons it was, Sunday school. So that's all gone now. Because they have it in the morning. Churches generally have it in the morning now for children. Of course, they all go out now in the afternoon. But in my day, it was always Sunday afternoons you went to Sunday school, you know. Yeah, that was the daughter church of Horfield, and so we went there. Man, it was a bit high. It was a high church. What they call high, you know, a bit. Well, I think it's Anglo-Catholic, really, Horfield Church. Anyway, we went there, we got confirmed, my friend and I, at Horfield Church. But some people wouldn't know St Edmund's was there.
Is it gone now, you say?
Yeah, it's. I think it's in one of the books when it closed.
Do you know why it closed?
I think it was just the upkeep aspect, you know. But that was nice. I had a little church hall at the back, and they used to have different things going on there. But no, that went. And it was so all like the same group of us went there, you know. Where it was a sad thing then in those days for children to go to Sunday school in the afternoon. They didn't have any shops open or anything like that. You know, Sunday was a Sunday.
Did you go into central Bristol very often, or did you largely stay around the area because all you needed was here?
No, we used to go into town, you know, it was, when we were that much, you know, in our teens. You know, we used to go into town a lot. Where it was generally on a Saturday, we used to go then. Because it was only a child when we went Saturday afternoons to the pictures, you know. But as we got in our teens, naturally we went into town, like you do, because you like the shops. And then we always used to stay out and have a cup of tea, I think. And a cake, yeah. Oh yeah, and they used to have the cinemas there, down there. And we used to go to the cinemas down there in the evening when we were in our teens. Because they had quite a few. And then, of course, the Hippodrome we used to go to. Oh yeah, and again, that was nice. Well, when you think about it, we used to go when the war was on. We didn't used to worry about whether there'd be a raid or anything, come to think of it.
So do you think you carried on as normal?
Yeah, I think we had to, really. Whether it's because you're young, perhaps older people worried more, I think. We didn't seem to worry when we were younger, like. Oh, and I told you about the tram depot. Okay. Shut. The tram depot down here. Used to be we used to have trams as a child. It used to be trams. And then they started the buses. So I remember we all went down to the tramway depot, bottom of Church Road, on the left, to see the last tram go in. So we all did that. And also at the surgery, they still got the cobblestones with the tram lines, which I bless every time I go down.
Do you have any other stories or memories or tales of the common or the local area?
Oh, did you know about the house on the common, where it's a residential place now, up here? The big house. Where it's at the top of the path here.
Yeah. That
big house. Well, now it's well, I think it's a nursing home and a residential, and I think they can have a flat if they want it and have their meals there, but have their own flat. But it used to be for naughty girls, that house. And they didn't have any shoes and socks on, because Sheila, my friend across the road, she remembers when she came, so I don't know when it was closed, but they were running down this road and they didn't have any shoes or socks on. Whether it's because for them not to go out, but they must have got out eventually, but they went there for discipline, I think, you know, because they were like what they used to call the naughty girls. So that was another history.